What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our tutorial world, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial on a completely concealable deactivating and reactivating Nether portal. So if we hit the switch there, it all turns off and gets hidden away, completely concealable and flush with the wall. And then we turn it back on, there it goes, reappears and then reignites. Now the way that we're reigniting this one is using fire charges from the dispenser above the actual obsidian, which actually makes the redstone below a lot more simpler. Now, although it may look a little bit daunting as it is at the moment, I assure you building it in stages makes it a lot simpler, which is how comes I've color coordinated every single section. So our first section is going to be the blue section, which is deactivating the portal. Second section is going to be the red section, which is then activating it. And then the final section, which is the little bit of a redstone gizmo, which is the actual double extending piston, conceal it, and the pistons underneath bringing up the wall. And yeah, as long as you build it in stages, as long as you follow the tutorial, you shouldn't have a problem at all. So over here, I've actually gone ahead and I built ourselves a little facade, the exact same that we've got over there. So let's just say that our portal is just in the wall behind here. And then we just run it up like so. Now from here, you're going to want your dispenser, which is going to be emptying the bucket of water to break the portal, just facing out. And then your other dispenser, you're going to want just above the actual portal up here. So if we just get some scaffolding blocks, do that. And then we do one of, I didn't even have to use a scaffolding block, did I? No, I didn't. Like so. And get rid of that random green block for no reason. Yay. Now our first section is going to be deactivating it, which is going to be this dispenser here. And the way we're doing this, the black line is the line that's going to be our main line of power. So it's going to be the lever, not there, it's going to be just there. And then that's going to be your redstone line coming in. So you just run that along. So basically it comes off 2 from the actual lever and then it runs along 4 along the black line there. So then when we switch that on, it all lights up, switch it off, it all goes off. Now the blue section, what we're going to want to do here is that this is actually going to be activated and deactivated by an observer block. So what you want to do is get a random scaffolding block and then face the observer into that, so then the back of it is actually touching the dispenser. Directly in front of the observer, you want a repeater on 4 ticks. And then just before the repeater, we're going to make one of our patented little 1-tick pulse generators using a sticky piston, block on top, and then you've got a repeater facing into that. Now what happens here is that when you turn it on, you'll get that 2 clicks, and the reason for that is that when the 1-tick pulse generator sends a signal to this repeater here, this repeater will then take so long to turn on and off. It's the perfect amount of time for the observer to actually register 2 different block changes, which will then send 2 signals to the actual dispenser in just the right amount of time to actually dispense and then retake up the water. So if we turn it off, and then let's just say we want to grab a random bucket of water, and then just in case things go a little bit wrong, let's just border it off like that. So then when we turn it on, it'll just be just enough time for it to dispense and then take it back up. But we don't want to play around with water while we're still doing our redstone. So we're going to leave that off for a second. And then our next line is this red line, which is going to be our reactivating the portal. This one's just even as simpler as this one. It's just insane. It's like I watched a few tutorials on these things and the redstone behind them was just ridiculous. I couldn't follow it from head to end, and then I ended up just making about 5 different variations in my redstone test world. But yeah, this one is just so much simpler. Now the red line, basically same thing, repeater coming off of the main line coming in, and then you want your block of choice really for building your redstone on, facing into that, and then you just want to run a redstone torch tower going up. Very simple till you get to there, and then you just run your line round to the actual dispenser. Now from here you are going to need a few repeaters, and the repeaters here are purely for delaying the actual signal. So we want them all on 4 ticks, just like so. And then you'll get that very delayed dispense. So that will give all the blocks enough time to retract before trying to reactivate the portal. That is circuit number 2 done and out of the way. The only one that is slightly complicated is this green one, and I'm going to have to give credit where credit's due for the amount of different tutorials for double piston extenders I have watched today. And it's got to be around about 60 or 70 different videos that I've watched today regarding double piston extenders, and this one is by far the most least complicated and simplest one to understand and actually build, especially when it comes to resources. It is insane. And the one who done this is Mumbo Jumbo. He designed a number of different double extenders when the observers first come out, and I went through all of his videos, and this one best matched our needs. So basically on the green line you want to come out with 2 bits of redstone, 3 repeaters. So we want to come over here, 2 bits of redstone, or 3 repeaters. And then the repeaters have to be specifically timed. So you've got 4, 4 and then none. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 and then none. And then that will then go into the green block. And then on top of the green block is where we want our 2 sticky pistons facing out towards the actual portal, like so. And then we want our observer facing into this block just here in the opposite direction to the way that our pistons are facing. And then you get rid of that scaffolding block. Now you want to get another block of choice, put it just down there so it makes a little triangle shape just like you can see in the background over there. And then we want a repeater facing into that block, and then a repeater facing out this way. And then we also want a piece of obsidian. Now we're using obsidian because it's an immovable block that can also transmit a redstone signal. So it's very handy to have, and it's what we need because we're going to be using slime blocks, as you can see. But yeah, so let me get back to this. So you get a couple of bits of redstone dust, and then where the observer is facing outwards, you just run that down, like so. Now, this repeater on the right hand side has to be on 3 ticks. The one on the left facing outwards that way is just standard. There's only a 1 tick delay on that one. And then that is pretty much our double piston extender done. So if we give it a quick run through, and we turn it on, that's our double piston extended. And then if we take it back, it then all retracts, which is excellent. Now obviously we've got this one little gap here, and it's got to be another removable block. Whether you choose to have another dispenser there is up to you. There's no really need to. Me, I am just going to fill it with obsidian just to match the rest of the portal outline, and it's perfectly fine to use because it's immovable. Yay! Now on the end of this, obviously we want our blocks that are going to be filling the gap. So we want our 4 slime blocks, which is going to be our 4 wide gap in the portal coming out. And then you want your blocks that is actually going to be your wall type, and we're using stone bricks for this demonstration, which are then going to be pushed out like so. Now that is pretty much the hardest bits of the redstone that you're actually going to have to do during this entire tutorial, and as long as you separate it into them 3 separate circuits, there's no going wrong with it. It is very, very simple. Now the only little bit of finagling that you have to do now, and yes, I've used the word finagling again because it is a word, I'm fairly sure. Now we're just going to have to run a line down to a couple of pistons, which is going to be pushing the 2 bottom blocks, which are going to be these ones. So we're going to break these 2 out, and we're going to get a couple of sticky pistons, throw them down there, and then put our blocks back on there. And then we just need to dig out a little route for them. So da-da, 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 da-da. Make sure not to break anything up top. And there we go. So get rid of that one. We can get some of that back. And then with them 2 sticky pistons, you just want to throw a repeater into each of them, run a redstone line out. Now when you're running the redstone line out, you've got to make sure not to interfere with the redstone torch tower, which is quite simple to do. You have to just take down the block one below next to the redstone torch tower to then take your line down, run a repeater out, and then join it up. It is as simple as that, and then that will activate them 2 pistons in the right timing with the rest of the circuit. Now these pistons, because there's no delay on them, it's like an extra safety barrier for the water, just in case you have a saving lag spike. So what will happen is that they will actually pop up first before the water attempts to actually be spat out. Spat out? Spat out? I'm going to go with spat out on that one. Yeah, so that actually attempts to, it basically brings that up before that actually activates, which is just like an extra safety precaution to prevent water from spilling everywhere in case you've got other redstone gizmos and gadgets about. But now is the time to test it fully in action by actually filling this thing with fire charges, which I have not obviously got prepared on my hotbar. So let's grab a stack of them. Now obviously you could fill this thing with fire charges. They are extremely cheap to make. I think it's like blaze powder and a couple of bits of gunpowder for a blaze is it fire charge? Fire charge, yeah, I was right. Yeah, for a fire charge they're extremely cheap, so you could fill that up and you'll get, what's that, 9 times 64 lots of uses before you actually have to touch it again if you filled it up. And then we'll throw our water in here. Now obviously the water's going to activate first because it's in the off mode. And that's it all concealed. And then if we switch it back, ta-da! And we've got a completely hidden, concealable, reactivating and deactivating Nether portal. Which I actually need to get around to putting into my world. The whole point that I'm doing this tutorial now is because I've spent the majority of my day trying to find a tutorial that I could follow and understand on how to actually make my Nether portal concealable, hidden, deactivating and reactivating, and for the life of me I couldn't. Now if you're still watching, good on ya, because the tutorial is pretty much over. What I am now going to go do is quickly show you. Let me turn these guys off actually. Before I do that, I need to get a couple of screenshots. I'm going to make a quick cut here. Now that you are actually still watching this video, I'm going to give you a little bit behind the scenes work of what I have to do during these tutorials to try to figure stuff out. Now I'm going to show you the original after I actually activate my user interface. There we go, I was just taking a couple of screenshots for the thumbnails that are going to take me about 20 minutes to actually make. Now this is the first iteration of the actual completely concealable Nether portal that I made by myself without following any sort of tutorials whatsoever, and I was just trying to figure it out as I went, and as you can see it is an absolute mess. Now this is around about 3 or 4 different variations that completely failed. This one is actually a working concept as well, so it does also activate and it does deactivate, and as you can see I've got both dispensers down at the bottom there. And yeah, the redstone became a little bit of a nightmare, especially when it came to the double piston extender, which as you can see is a completely different variation. This one uses 2 observer blocks looking down into repeaters, which then send the signals and delayed signal onto this, and it was a nightmare trying to figure it out and build it and run all the redstone everywhere. But eventually it became down to this thing. This is me just testing out Mumbo Jumbo's double piston extender. And then once I saw how easy and how quick that was to build, I then implemented it and took out a massive chunk of that complete monstrosity that I built over there. And that was when I was using the flint and the steel. Then I realised you could use the fire charges and make life even more simpler on yourself by throwing the dispenser up on top, taking a dispenser out of the equation, which will then allow you to use this type of double piston extender by activating an obsidian block here, which won't activate the dispenser that would have been in this spot here. But yeah, that's just a little bit of behind the scenes sort of things that I have to deal with and go through, and just the amount of different contraptions that I end up failing on is just as amount as I'm successful. There's usually around about 5 different variations that I run through before coming up with a working concept, and yeah, this one's actually worked. This is another little thing that I was just sort of testing out, and it's sort of like I forgot what they're called. What's the things in the airports called that push you along when you're standing on them? They're not escalators. Escalators take you upstairs, don't they? It's I don't know, but I was sort of working on a concept of one of them that sort of just pushes you through using string in front of observer blocks. I have no idea if that was going to amount to anything, but as you can see, when I get a little bit bored and a little bit restless in my redstone test world when things aren't going my way, I tend to veer off and get easily distracted. But yeah, hopefully you found the tutorial today very useful, and hopefully it met your needs, and I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Bye bye.